The following is a program of the Santa Barbara County Education Office. To learn more, visit sbceo.org.
I'm Susan Salcido, Santa Barbara County Superintendent of Schools. I'm delighted to welcome our guest today, Robert Garcia, visual and performing arts teacher from Righetti High School. Robert, you created the annual Righetti High School Film Festival. It just celebrated its 20th year anniversary. Some of your alum have been recognized by the National Academy of Television Arts and Science. Very exciting. Welcome and thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you. This will be fun.
It will be fun. I can't wait to share all about your successes and your future goals. But first, let's go back to the beginning. Let's talk about where you were born, raised, your growing up.
I was born in Mexico, raised in Santa Maria, and then went away for a few years to college and came back. Supposed to come back for a year. It's been 25, 30 years now, so I guess I'm not leaving. So
you're staying.
Yeah, I'm staying,
put.
Yeah.
And where did you go to college, and what did you study?
Well, I went to Hancock first, and then from Hancock I transferred to San Jose State. And then I took a break, and then I went to San Jose City, and then I took a little break, and then I went to Santa Clara, took another break, went back to San Jose, went up to Cal Berkeley, and then finished up at San Jose.
So you took some breaks, but you haven't had a break for a while, I'm sure, because I know you've been teaching. No. And how and when did you know you wanted to be a teacher?
Well, to be honest, it wasn't on my list at all. I hadn't even thought of teaching. It sort of came up by accident. I was freelancing photography. I left KCOY, decided to go freelance, and I was freelancing. And the assignment started to slow down, and they asked me, and somebody said, why don't you substitute? I said, oh, that's a good idea, between assignments, so I did. So I went back to school. Well, actually, I went to take the CBEST, and I took the CBEST, and I passed it. And I had an assignment, my first assignment was in a third-fourth combo. And I think it was about 3 different languages, and I don't know how many reading levels, and I had no idea what to do. And I stood in front of them, and all these little faces everywhere, they're looking up at me. And I didn't have a lesson plan, I didn't have anything, and so I asked them. I said, okay, what are you guys doing? And they were a little surprised by that, because I guess nobody ever asked them what to do, they just did what they were told. And this little kid stood up and said, we're doing this. And we went on from that, and I loved it. I left that day, I finished the day, went home and enrolled, and decided I was going to be a teacher.
And how long ago was that? How long have you been teaching now?
Well, I subbed for about 3 years, and I've been at Righetti now for 21. But I was going to teach 4th grade, and high school wasn't in the plan. But
so how did high school get into your plan? How did you end up at Righetti?
I don't know, to tell you the truth. They called me. The teacher was going to do something else. The program had been there for a few years, and he was going to do another class, and they needed somebody to take over, and they called me. I don't know how they found out about me. And I turned them down a couple of times, and then I said, okay, I'll go and take a look at it. And it was supposed to be for 3 days, and I went a little bit over the 3 days, I think.
Just a little bit.
Yeah.
And that teaching assignment, is that your current assignment as well?
Yes.
In terms of visual and performing arts?
Yes.
So tell us about your assignment then. What is your day-to-day teaching day like?
I teach filmmaking. I teach filmmaking and broadcasting. When I started, I had 3 classes. No, I had 2 classes. And then I taught a foods class. That was fun. Teaching food, I mean, talk about food and you cook it and you eat it. You know, the kids loved it. And then the program slowly built up. And now I do 2 beginning classes, filmmaking. 1 magazine class. We don't have a newspaper, we have a magazine. And then 2 concurrent classes through Hancock College. Those are my advanced film classes.
And you're teaching high schoolers. It's
Yes.
an age unto themselves. What is
Yes,
it?
they are.
Yes, and what is so rewarding for you to teach high school students?
It's fun. It's fun. Mm-hmm. It's frustrating. It's hard. It's easy. It's fun though. Most of it is fun.
Good.
I like the fact that you can talk to them. They have opinions. They have issues they want to talk about. You can joke with them. You can talk about current events, and you never quite know what you're going to get day to day.
So day to day, if we were to visit your classroom, what might we see when we walk in?
Controlled chaos.
Describe that. Paint a picture for us.
Well, I have a small room. I have about 25 students in there. I'd like to say that it's a room made for 10 and with 25 students in there. But it works. And after the first 3 or 4 weeks, they're producing films. We're doing exercises. Little by little, they get into making bigger films. Some of them are working on the computer, editing. Some of them are writing their films. Some of them are outside shooting their films. Some of them are on their phones. So it's pretty much a lot of things going on at once. I sort of become like a facilitator more than anything after that. I like to work individually with them. I give them all the lesson as a class, and after that, I like to walk around and work with them on a one-to-one basis. And then they help each other out. I emphasize that. Once you learn a technique, pass it on to somebody else. If you can't find me, go to somebody else. Or even if you can't find me and the guy next to you or the girl next to you knows how to do it, talk to them. I find they learn better that way. And the kids listen to each other most of the time.
So controlled chaos is how you started, and I appreciate that you painted that picture, but it is controlled. You really do facilitate a lot of the learning, and they learn from one another as well as from you. So let's turn now to the film festival. You created it. You celebrated its 20th year. Let's start with the basics. Tell us about the film festival. What does that look like?
Well, let me tell you how it started. We were making all these films, and I came to the realization that nobody was seeing them except for us. And art and filmmaking isn't art. Art is meant to be shown. You know, you don't make a canvas and stick it in a closet, which was what we were doing. We were making films and sticking them in the closet. So I brought up the idea, and they went for it. And I make sure that it's student produced. I get calls from parents, and I turn them down. The students do everything. They come up with the poster idea, they come up with the publicity, they come up with the theme for the decorations. They run it. They sell the tickets. I do the announcing there because, well, I want to. I tell them I keep 1%. You know, it all has to come through me. Most of the time, it's okay, and it's fun. The public's invited to it, and we usually have full houses. So.
And it's a 2-day festival, is
Yes.
that right? And where does it take place? And how many films are being shown?
It takes place on the gym stage at Righetti. We fix it up. We put partitions in there. We have a big screen. We have projectors. We have a concession stand. We sell popcorn. I forgot your question. I'm sorry.
Oh, how many films are shown? Where is it shown?
Anywhere from 19 to 25, depending on the year.
Over 2 days?
Yeah, over 2 days.
I understand that next year's film festival is already underway. Planning's happening now, and people can access it through Facebook.
They can go
right?
to Facebook, 2018 RHS Film Festival.
That's great.
Yeah.
So I'm sure students take on a variety of issues, and they want to put those on display for their films. Can you talk about how they go about selecting their ideas? How do you support them, shape them?
We talk about things. I'm big on our circle. We form circles and we talk about every subject there is. I do the same thing for the magazine, and we get our ideas from each other. And like I said before, the kids, the young people, they have issues they're dealing with. And it's the same issues you went through, I went through, but the way they handle it is different nowadays. And so I tell them, if you want to put those on the screen, go ahead. You can't have violence, so you can't. There are certain restrictions. The film festival, they're pretty much do just about anything they want. I don't say you have to do it. You have to do this kind of a film. You have to do that kind of a film. I say you do your film. I'll take a look at it. If it meets the criteria, you put it in the film festival.
They have creative license, it
Yes,
sounds
they do.
like, with some parameters.
Yes.
Yeah.
I tell them we're still a high school. When you get to college, if you want to cut somebody's head off, that's up to your teacher there. But here we're not going to do that. So
Earlier, a few moments ago, you talked about Hancock College. They're very involved, I think, with the film festival. Is that right, from the beginning? Can you
well,
talk
at the
about-
beginning, when I first got the job, my first visit was to Hancock when Casey was there. Casey started the program there, and I'd known him for a while. And when it came time to do the film festival, I talked to them about it, and they said, use our theater. So the first, I'd say 10 were at Hancock. And then on the 11th one, I think it was, I'm not sure, there was a scheduling problem, and we decided to do it there, and that's where we've been. But I send a lot of kids over there. A lot of them go through me, go to Hancock, and then from there they go somewhere else. And I push Hancock a lot. I tell them, if you're going to become a filmmaker, go to a junior college. You'll pick up a camera right away. By the time you transfer, you'll have 2 years of actual production. And so in Hancock, we've been working pretty well together there. And now I'm doing their concurrent classes. I'm doing a beginning, their film 110. I do their film 111 at Righetti. So that's cool.
That is great. A partnership in many ways then
Yes.
with Hancock, and I think Hancock is a community jewel, so why
Oh, yeah.
not?
I
why
like
not
Hancock,
promote?
yeah.
Absolutely. So we are talking about your film festival and different aspects of it. Let's talk about some of the students. We talked earlier, we spoke about how some of the students actually came back for this 20th anniversary.
That was very cool.
Yes, you've had huge success for your students in the program. Take a moment and share with us some of those successes.
I've been very fortunate. I've had some really good kids. And the kids that want to take the class, that like film, they do well with it. And they stay with it. I have kids that are working all over the country, actually. I've got former students who have gotten 18, 19 Emmys. Those are the ones that I know about. Apparently there are some that I'm not in touch with, but they've gotten some Emmys. I think we share in about 4 different Academy Awards that my students worked on the films. I always watch the credits now. I always have. But now I'm looking for names, My grandson, when we go to the movies together, he doesn't want to get up either. He wants to make sure maybe he says, maybe we'll see one of your students' name, Grandpa. They're working in the business. A lot of them are. In one form or another. I have a student that's working for BuzzFeed. I have a student that's working for Technicolor. They direct television shows. They direct newscasts. We have, I was watching TV one day and I was watching the Emmys. And one of my students got up there and won an Emmy. He says, none of this would have been possible without Mr. Garcia, and I was doing something else. And what? And it was very cool.
What a proud moment.
Yeah, my hair's standing up again.
Oh, well, I think all of ours are too. It's really such an impact far and wide, and it's really incredible. And those are the students that you hear of. There are
Right.
many that you probably
Yes.
don't get a chance to hear of, and you've impacted them deeply also. So you talked earlier too about the marketing, the putting on the festival. It's not simply about the production itself, it's really about the whole event. Tell us a little bit more about what they learn in terms of putting on an event. It's a community event, truly.
Right. Well, they learn quite a bit. They learn organization. I push collaboration a lot. I tell them, you're going to have to learn how to work together. When they first walk into my class as a beginner or as an advanced class, I always repeat what I tell them. You're going to work with people here you probably wouldn't work with anywhere else. You probably won't even talk to each other. But when you're in my classroom, you are filmmakers, you're going to like each other. Once you leave here, you don't have to, but here you're going to work together. And you're going to talk and you be respectful. And when it comes time to the film festival, that's ingrained in them, and they work well, very well together. We have a president that takes care of things. They form a committee. This committee does this committee does that. We go out and get donations for prizes and things like that. They learn how to work together. That's the most important thing. 'Cause I tell them, once you get out there, you're going to have to learn to work with people you don't know. And if you don't, you're not going to have a job very long. So, and the whole thing is preparing them for the outside world. Right. I want them to learn how to make a film, but I want them to learn how to get along with other people, whether they stay in film or not. And it's worked so far.
Communication, working as a team, putting things aside, moving forward.
Yes, just get it done.
And I'm sure that is similar in the magazine production side of things too.
Oh, yes.
Tell us about the magazine.
They asked me to take over it about 4 years ago. Do I need another headache, you know? So actually, I went to former students and I asked them about it. What do you think? Should I do this or not? And they said, yeah, go ahead. Of course, you know, they weren't going to do it. I was. And we did, I told them, I'll take it. I told the administration, I'll take it, but we're not going to do a newspaper. I want to do a full-color magazine. And they went for it. And so we did it.
And what is the name of the magazine?
The Legend.
The Legend.
And RHS magazine.
Nice. And tell us about some features of the magazine that makes it different from being a newspaper.
I told them the same thing I told my film class. We are going to learn how to make films. We are going to learn how to read articles. We're going to produce a magazine, but we're not going to do your typical high school magazine. We're not going to have bad poetry in there. We're not going to have a love column. We're not going to talk about little Judy and little Bobby. We're going to talk about issues that are relevant. And so far it's worked. We did an issue on abuse, physical abuse. We came up, in going through the research, we found out that a big part of physical abuse happens in high school. We did one on drugs, drugs in the high school. And not just Righetti, but everywhere. I want to emphasize that all of these are not just for Righetti. We're talking about kids everywhere. We did one on the dancing at the school. Ooh, that one was interesting.
Why was it interesting?
A lot of the students didn't like it because they thought that we were exaggerating it. And the reason we did that was a lot of students were coming up to us and saying, have you been to the dances? And the kids dance a little different now than when I danced, you know, and so it was a shaky one. We got a lot of feedback on that one. We did one on bullying. Well, we've done it on stress that the students go through. So our main topics are relevant to what the kids are going to go through. And with the films, it's the same thing. Don't make all your films about Betty loving Joe and Joe loving Mary. You know, let's come up with some relevant subjects.
That relevancy is very important. It's super impactful for students to read and see things that relate to themselves and their worlds, even if it's not just them personally, but others that they know. And what you are describing really talks about project-based learning. You know, both in the magazine, obviously in your video production. It sounds like for you, that's really the way to teach in terms of project-based learning. Can you say more about what that means for you as a teacher in using that to help students learn?
I think learning kids have to learn how to solve problems. They can learn facts, they can learn formulas, but they also have to learn how to solve a problem that is connected to whatever subject they're talking about. In film, it's all about problem solving. How do you get character A to the end of the film and have them go through all these situations? So they not only have to write the story, they have to figure out how to write the story and how to get them out of situations. And I think hands-on is a great way. In any subject, I think it's a great way to learn. I have a math teacher that's across from me. They go out and fire a rocket and they figure out the trajectory. I see students from science going out there measuring buildings and looking at the shadows, which way are they going. And kids like that. When I was subbing, I learned that they like to do things with their hands. I had a history class and I was supposed to teach them economics in that class. And I started out that way, but they weren't getting it. So I divided the class into tribes. One was a mountain tribe, one was a river tribe, desert tribe, etc. And I said, okay, just figure out how you guys are going to survive with each other. They loved it. And the teacher came back and said, wow, these kids learned. So hands-on to me, I mean, that's the only way I know how to do things with them anyway. So.
Robert, it's so clear that you have inspired so many students, not only in the 20 years of the film festival, but for the day-to-day and your magazine that's been around for now 4 years, and even in the subbing. I know you've inspired so many students. Is there a student that you can think of that's done the same for you? A particular student that might have inspired you or impacted you, or if not one, then some?
I think that little Japanese kid in the 4th grade in my first subbing, he just looked at me and he says, this is what we're supposed to be doing. You know the old cliche about they teach us as much as we try to teach them. It's not a cliche, it's so true. I learn something every day from these kids. I learn about how to deal with them. I learn how to not deal with them. I can't tell you one student. I can tell you a lot. One of my former students came by the house yesterday, and he's interested in taking over the class. And we talked about teaching, and that was cool. That he wants to come back and continue. So I can't really tell you one student. They all succeed in one way or the other.
That's wonderful. And for the student who visited you yesterday and for our viewers who are watching today, can you share what is the best part of teaching? What is the best part for you?
When they succeed. After the last one, I'll just tell you this real quick. The last film festival, when all those alumni were there, I invited them to the house. Okay, they're all over 21. Okay, so. And so we were, they were all sitting around, and they were all talking about projects they were working on. And they said, hey, I might have a job for you. Or, hey, do you know anybody here? And they were networking. I thought that was so cool.
Yeah. Adults now networking and really.
And they were still doing films, and they were talking about helping each other out, which I push a lot. So
they were doing as adults what you taught when they were in school. You really saw that continuum.
Oh, yeah, it was very cool.
That's really great.
Yeah.
Very cool, as you say. And what about some challenges, whether it's in your classes or whether in education in general? What might you say are some of the challenges right now?
Like I mentioned before, the kids are generally going through the same thing every kid goes through. The way they're handling it now is different. I've got to admit that technology plays a big part in how they're doing or what they're not doing. I think the kids need to learn to talk to each other more than anything, and I mean talking like we're doing here, and not texting to each other.
Right.
The big challenge, I think, is trying to reach these kids in the new age of technology. How do you implement that? How do you bring that into your classes? How do you use that? Because we're not going to get it away from them. We have to learn how to use what they're used to. We have to learn from them how we're supposed to be teaching them. And hopefully we do.
So as we think about the up-and-comer teachers, and if you were to give advice for teachers, having been a seasoned teacher now, what advice would you give to our new teachers?
Wow. I never thought I'd be here at 21 years into this, you know. I think you have to care about the students. You have to learn who they are, learn about who each of your students are, and work with them in that capacity. Understand that they're not having perfect days every day. They come in there with problems just like you come in there with problems. Some days it's worse than others. You have to take that into consideration. You can't be so strict on getting things done that you feel you have to get done. So you get behind a little bit. You have to take that into consideration.
Robert, as we wind down on this interview, I want to give you an opportunity to give some comments, advice, sharing for some of the members of our community. So you shared something for new teachers. What about to the community of Santa Maria and Orchid?
Support your students. Support your kids. Give them a chance to do what they feel they want to do. I get a lot of parents who say, yeah, they want to make films, but I want them to get a real job. Hey, a lot of the kids that are graduated are making 3 times more than I am. You have to give them the opportunity to do what they want. You don't want them stuck in a job they don't like, because that just causes problems for them and for everybody else. Give them a break.
And what about a last message to the students?
Be patient with us, okay? Bring me a donut once in a while, and everything will be fine.
Donuts, sweets, relationships, project-based learning. You've shared a lot today, and
thank you.
Yes, and Robert, your impact is obviously not simply in one classroom or in one school or one community. It's far and wide, and I'm so appreciative that you shared some of that with us today. Really, thank you so much for all that you've done.
This was fun.
Good. It was fun for me too.
We got to just keep on going. That's okay.
Let's do it.
We can talk all day.
Let's do it.
I love talking about my classes and my kids. So
that's great. Well, thank you.
It's fun. Thank you.
I'm Susan Salcido, Santa Barbara County Superintendent of Schools. Thank you so much for joining me today for this edition of Education Matters.